Move your ass. Now. Victoria Whitmore didn't ask. She commanded. Her husband Richard grabbed the chair and ripped it backward. The man sitting there caught himself on the table edge. "Ma'am, if you just... Don't ma'am me." Richard shoved into the seat. "How the hell did you even get in here?" Victoria snatched the water glass. "Security must be sleeping. Look at him. Does he look like he belongs?" "Please, there's been a misunderstanding." "The only misunderstanding," Richard said, "is you thinking this table is for people like you." Victoria carried his place setting toward the back. "Probably couldn't afford the ticket. Someone's charity +1. Richard snapped his fingers twice, sharp, dismissive. "You deaf? I said move." The man stood there, calm, too calm. Everyone stared. No one helped. What none of them knew, in 60 minutes these two would be begging on their knees. 6 hours earlier, the sunrise turned Manhattan's skyline copper and gold. Darius Bennett stood at his office window on the 45th floor. His coffee steamed in a plain ceramic mug. No logo, no name. Behind him, the Meridian Global headquarters hummed with early morning energy. $12 billion in annual revenue, 50,000 employees across 6 continents, 25 years building it from a dorm room dream. His phone buzzed. FaceTime from his daughter. "Morning, Dad. Are you ready for tonight?" "As ready as I'll ever be," he smiled. "Your grandmother asked if I'm wearing the tie she bought me." "Are you?" "Of course." He glanced at the photo on his desk, his mother in her cleaning uniform, the office building where she'd worked nights while he studied. Always. The call ended. Darius looked at the gala invitation on his desk. Annual Corporate Leadership Awards. Meridian was a platinum sponsor. $5 million. His entire executive team would be there. But tonight wasn't about celebration. It was about observation. He'd learned long ago that people showed their true character when they thought no one important was watching. When they believed hierarchy protected them. When they forgot that respect shouldn't require a title. So he'd arrive early, sit quietly, watch how his senior leaders treated the staff, the servers, the coat check attendants, the people they assumed had no power. Then he'd deliver his keynote on character in leadership. The irony wasn't lost on him. Across town, Richard Whitmore stood in front of his bedroom mirror. He adjusted his bow tie for the 3rd time. The tuxedo was Tom Ford. Rental wasn't an option. Not tonight. "This is it," he said to his reflection. "Tonight I meet Bennett." Victoria emerged from the closet. Her gown cost $8,000. Meridian's corporate card had covered it. Consultation fee, the invoice said. She'd done exactly 3 hours of PR work this quarter. What if he's not even there? She fastened her diamond bracelet. They say he never shows up to these things. He'll be there. Richard checked his phone. Stock portfolio, up 2%. I heard from James in finance. The CEO confirmed. What's he like? Richard shrugged. No idea. I've never met him. In 8 years? Everything was Zoom during COVID. Then he kept it that way. Richard grabbed his wallet. Doesn't matter. Tonight I get FaceTime. That EVP promotion is mine. They headed to the elevator. The Mercedes waited downstairs. Company car. Richard had requisitioned it last month. Senior Vice President privileges. Victoria filmed herself in the car. Instagram story. Heading to the gala. Can't wait to meet Meridian's leadership. Heart emoji. Sparkle emoji. She had 300,000 followers. Most of them were bought because of discount codes she promoted. Richard scrolled through emails. Table 1. They put us at Table 1. Is that good? It's the head table, VIP section. He grinned. But we should be in the center seats. I'm senior leader. Why aren't you? Probably saved for the CEO and board members. Richard's jaw tightened. I've earned those seats. The car pulled up to the Metropolitan Hall. Photographers lined the red carpet. Victoria checked her makeup. Richard straightened his shoulders. They walked in like they owned the place. The ballroom gleamed. Crystal chandeliers hung from vaulted ceilings. White orchids covered every surface. A jazz quartet played near the stage. 200 round tables filled the space, each one dressed in cream silk and gold chargers. Table 1 sat at the room's center, raised slightly on a platform. The power table. Richard spotted his nameplate. 3 seats from the center. His face darkened. "That's not right." Victoria peered at the center seats. 2 nameplates. One read Darius Bennett, CEO. The other said Guest of Honor. "Who's Darius Bennett?" "The CEO." Richard's voice dropped. "That's his seat." So I've never seen him. No one has. He doesn't take photos. Don't press." Richard stared at the empty center chairs. "They say he's impossible to reach. Probably some old white guy who never leaves the C-suite." Victoria wasn't listening. She'd spotted the centerpiece. White orchids. Perfect for photos. Darius arrived through the side entrance. He'd parked his Tesla in the regular lot, declined valet service, carried his own coat, stopped to hold the door for a catering manager struggling with boxes. "Let me get that for you." "Oh, thank you, sir." He walked into the ballroom. Early, quiet, exactly as planned. Found table 1, found his nameplate, sat down in the center chair. The orchids smelled like vanilla and rain. He checked his phone, reviewed his keynote notes, took a sip of water, then he waited. Darius sat reading the program. The paper felt expensive. Embossed lettering. He traced a finger over the Meridian logo. Footsteps approached. Fast. Determined. "Excuse me." He looked up. A woman in a silver gown stood over him. Diamonds caught the light at her throat. Her face was hard, angry already. "You're in our seats." Darius set down the program. "I believe there's been nothing." Her husband appeared beside her. Tall, red-faced, jaw clenched. "These are VIP seats. Move." "If you'll look at the nameplate." Darius gestured to the card in front of him. Richard Whitmore didn't look. He grabbed the chair back with both hands, yanked it hard. The chair lurched backward. Darius's hands shot out to catch the table. His water glass tipped. Water spread across the white silk tablecloth. "What the hell?" Darius stood. His heart pounded, but his voice stayed level. "Sir, please, don't sir me." Richard dropped into the chair, sat down like he'd won something. "I'm senior vice president. This is where I sit." Victoria moved fast. She snatched Darius's place setting. Fork, knife, spoon, the china plate. She held them away from her body, like they were dirty. "Ma'am, that's not necessary." "Oh, it's very necessary." She walked toward the back tables. Her heels clicked sharp and loud. "You clearly don't understand how these events work." Darius stood between the tables, displaced. Several guests turned to watch. Their conversations died mid-sentence. Richard settled deeper into the center chair. He picked up the nameplate. "Darius Bennett." He laughed, short, mean. "Printing error. They always screw these up." "That's my name," Darius said quietly. "Sure it is." Richard tossed the card aside. "And I'm the Pope." Victoria returned. She sat in the adjacent VIP seat, smoothed her gown, smiled at the watching guests like nothing was wrong. Darius took a breath. "I assure you, if you check the seating chart—" "The seating chart?" Richard leaned back, spread his arms, ownership pose. "I don't need a chart. I know where I belong. Question is, do you?" "I'm exactly where I should be." "Really?" Victoria's voice dripped with contempt. "Because you look more like you should be parking cars." A woman at the next table gasped. Soft, quiet. But Darius heard it. "Or maybe serving them," Richard added. He snapped his fingers, twice. Sharp cracks in the air. We'll take champagne when you get a chance. Darius felt heat rise in his chest. 25 years of building, creating, leading, and here he stood, being treated like help. I don't work in the service, he said. Could have fooled me. Victoria examined her nails. That tux is decent. Rental? It's not. Must be. Because if you could afford Tom Ford, you wouldn't be crashing corporate events. She looked him up and down. Slow. Deliberate. Let me guess. Someone's +1? Thought you'd network your way up. More guests were watching now. Phones appeared, small rectangles of blue light. Richard pulled out his own phone. You know what? I'm calling security. That's not necessary, Darius said. I think it is. Richard stood, used his height, stepped close, too close. You've taken our seats. You're refusing to leave. That's trespassing. I have every right. You have the right to go where you belong. Richard's breath smelled like scotch. And it's not here. Not at this table. Not at this event. Victoria fanned herself with the program. Honestly, how did you even get past the door? Security must be asleep. I was invited, Darius said. Invited? She laughed. By whom? Make-A-Wish? A few people at nearby tables shifted uncomfortably, but no one spoke up. No one moved to help. Richard spotted someone approaching. James? Perfect timing. James Patterson, Meridian's CFO, stopped mid-stride. His face went pale. He'd recognized Darius immediately. Richard, maybe we should... Should what? Let some random guy take executive seats? Richard gestured at Darius. You know him? James's eyes met Darius's. A silent question. Darius shook his head slightly. Not yet. I don't think this is... See? Richard turned back to Darius. Even the CFO doesn't know you, so explain to me why you think you belong at table 1. Because my name is on the seat, Darius said simply. Victoria snorted. Your name, right, and I'm Beyoncé. Actually, Darius tried again, if you'd just look at what? Some fake ID? Richard crossed his arms. Let me guess. You saw the CEO's name on the list, thought you'd pretend to be him, score some contacts, maybe a job lead. That's exactly what this is. Richard's voice rose, loud enough for half the room to hear. Identity fraud, corporate espionage, whatever you want to call it. Sarah Carter appeared at the table's edge, VP of Operations. She reported directly to Richard. Her face had gone gray. Richard? Her voice barely worked. I think you should... Should what, Sarah? He didn't look at her, kept his eyes on Darius. Side with some gatecrasher? Sarah's husband touched her arm, squeezed, warning. She closed her mouth. Victoria pulled out her phone, opened Instagram, started recording. This is unbelievable. We're at a corporate gala and security has completely failed. Please don't, Darius said. Don't what? Document a crime? She moved closer with the phone, got his face in frame. Everyone should see this. How these events are being crashed by... She paused, smiled. By people who clearly don't meet the standards. The standards, Darius repeated quietly. Yes. Standards. Richard stepped between Darius and the table, blocked his path. Education, position, success. You know, things that matter. And you believe I lack those things. I believe you're standing at our table instead of sitting at yours. Richard's jaw tightened. If you even have one. 2 security guards approached. One was black, young, uncomfortable. The other was white, older, more confident. Is there a problem here? The older guard, Tony, scanned the situation. Yes! Victoria pointed at Darius. This man has taken our seats and refuses to leave. Marcus, the younger guard, recognized Darius. His eyes went wide. He opened his mouth. Darius caught his eye, shook his head once, subtle. Marcus closed his mouth. "Sir," Tony said to Darius, "can I see your invitation?" Darius reached for his jacket pocket. "Whoa!" Richard jumped back. "He's reaching for something." "It's just my invitation," Darius said calmly. "That's what they all say," Victoria muttered. Darius pulled out the invitation, cream cardstock, gold lettering. He handed it to Tony. Tony examined it. "This appears legitimate." "Appears?" Richard grabbed it. "Let me see that." Tony held it away. "Sir, please. I'm senior vice president of this company." Richard's face went redder. "That invitation is probably forged." "It's not forged," Tony said. "Then someone gave him theirs, or he found it or stole it." Richard was breathing hard now. Angry, desperate. These things get handed out at community centers. Diversity initiatives, whatever. Victoria nodded. "It's actually sad, thinking a nice suit and a fake invitation would work." More guests gathered. A small crowd formed. 30 people. 40. Phones everywhere. Marcus stepped forward. "Mr. Whitmore, maybe we should verify—" "Verify what?" Richard spun on him. "I'm telling you, he doesn't belong. I've been with Meridian for 8 years. I know who's who." "And you're sure you've never seen him?" Marcus asked carefully. "Never." Richard turned back to Darius. "What department do you claim to work in?" "I work at Meridian," Darius said. "Doing what?" "Management." Victoria laughed. "Management? How vague. Let me guess. You're a team lead? Supervisor?" She turned to the crowd. "Does anyone know this man?" Silence. "See?" She looked triumphant. "No one knows him, because he's nobody." Derek Hamilton, another VP, spoke up from his table. "You know, Richard has a point. We can't be too careful." His wife nodded. "Last year someone crashed claiming to be from Goldman Sachs." Sarah Carter looked like she might be sick. Her husband whispered urgently. She shook her head. Couldn't risk it. Richard controlled her career, her promotions, everything. Maria Rodriguez, the event coordinator, pushed through the crowd. "What's going on?" "Finally!" Victoria grabbed her arm. "Maria, this man has taken our seats. We need him removed." Maria saw Darius. Her eyes went wide. "Oh. Oh no. Mr. Whitmore, if I could speak with you privately." "No." Richard's voice was ice. "Whatever you need to say it here, in front of everyone." Maria looked at Darius. He gave a small shake of his head. I really think we should..." "Should what?" Victoria's voice rose. "Do your job? Because right now you're protecting a gatecrasher." "I'm not." "Then prove it." Richard pointed at Darius. "Remove him. Now, or I'll make sure your supervisors hear how you handled this." Maria's hands trembled. She looked at her tablet, at the seating chart, at Darius, back at Richard. "Please," she whispered, "don't do this." But Richard wasn't listening. He turned to the crowd, playing to them now. "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for this disruption. As Senior Vice President, I take responsibility for ensuring this event maintains its standards." Applause from a few tables, small, scattered, but there. "This man," Richard continued, gesturing at Darius, "has taken VIP seats under false pretenses. He's refused to identify himself properly, and he's making a scene at a corporate function." "I'm not making a scene," Darius said quietly. "You're still here, aren't you?" Richard checked his watch. Rolex, gold. "I'm giving you 60 seconds. Leave voluntarily or be removed by force." Victoria started counting on her fingers. 60, 59, 58. The crowd watched. Some are uncomfortable, some were entertained. All filming. Marcus stepped closer to Darius, whispered, "Sir, please, just say who you are." "Not yet," Darius whispered back. 45, Victoria called out. 44, 43. Richard pulled out his phone. "I'm texting the board president. He needs to know security failed tonight." James, the CFO, was frantically texting someone. His fingers flew across the screen. 30 seconds, Victoria's voice carried across the ballroom. The jazz quartet had stopped playing. The room had gone silent except for her counting. 20, 19, 18. Richard signaled to the security guards. "Get ready." Tony and Marcus exchanged looks. Neither wanted this. 10, 9, 8. The lights began to dim. The opening ceremony was starting. "Time's up," Richard smiled, vicious, satisfied. "Gentlemen, remove him." A spotlight powered on, pointed at the stage. The MC, Dr. Helen Morrison, stepped to the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats." Richard ignored the MC, kept his eyes on Darius. "You heard me. Get him out." Dr. Morrison's voice came through the speakers. "Before we begin tonight's program, this won't take long," Richard said loudly. "Just removing someone who doesn't belong." Victoria's live stream was still running. 2,000 people watching. She aimed the phone at Darius's face. "Look at him, standing there like he has a right, like we're wrong." Darius stood still, arms at his sides, breathing steady. A woman at table 3 spoke. "Maybe we should let security—" "Security let him in!" Richard's voice cut sharp. "That's the problem." Tony shifted his weight. "Sir, his invitation is valid." "Valid doesn't mean real," Richard pointed at Darius. "This man saw the CEO's name on that seat, saw an opportunity. Probably does this at every gala in the city." "That's not true," Darius said quietly. "Isn't it?" Victoria zoomed closer. "How many events have you crashed? 5? 10? Derek Hamilton stood at his table. "She has a point. Remember that Forbes article? People posing as executives?" "Exactly!" Richard seized it. "This is fraud. Identity theft. We should call the police." "Please don't," Maria tried. "Don't what? Let him get away with it?" Richard's face went redder. "I earned this seat. 8 years at Meridian. 8 years of work." He stabbed a finger at Darius. "What have you done? Besides show up in a rented suit?" The crowd pressed closer. Someone bumped a server. Glasses crashed. Victoria spoke to her camera. "This is why these programs fail. You open doors and people abuse it." Several heads nodded. Sarah Carter gripped her husband's hand, knuckles white. "Say something," he whispered. "I can't. He's my boss." Her voice cracked. "But that man is—" "I know. And if I speak, Richard destroys me. You want that?" Her husband looked at Darius, looked away. Richard typed on his phone. "I'm emailing the CEO right now, telling him his event is compromised." "Good luck," Marcus muttered. "What?" Richard spun on him. "You got something to say?" Marcus glanced at Darius. Darius shook his head slightly. "No, sir." Victoria laughed. "Even security won't defend you." She turned to her live stream. "Chat's asking where you're from. Originally." She looked Darius up and down. "You don't look like you're from here." The words hung heavy. A woman gasped. Richard nodded. "Fair question. Background checks exist for a reason." "My background is none of your concern," Darius said. "It is when you're impersonating someone at my company." Richard stepped closer. "At my event. In my seat." "Your company?" Darius let the words sit. "Yes. I've given 8 years. What have you given?" Victoria's phone chirped. She checked it. This is going viral. 15,000 views. She smiled at Darius. You're famous. The guy who stole a CEO's seat. She paused. Actually, that's a great hook. My followers will love this. Stop recording, Darius said. This is journalism, public interest. Then prove who you are. Richard crossed his arms. Show real ID, driver's license, employee badge, anything. Darius reached for his wallet slowly, pulled out his license. Richard snatched it, examined it under the lights. Darius Bennett, Upper West Side. He looked up. How's a guy like you afford that? A guy like me, Darius repeated. Yeah. Someone who crashes galas. Richard handed the license to Victoria. Probably fake. You can buy these online. It's real, Tony said. How do you know? Victoria photographed it, posted to her story. Letting my followers verify. That's a privacy violation, Darius said. Sue me. Oh, wait. You can't afford a lawyer. Laughter rippled through nearby tables. James pushed through the crowd, phone in hand. Richard, the CEO. Not now. But I said not now. Richard didn't look at him. I'm handling this. James stepped back. Defeated. Doctor. Morrison tried again. Ladies and gentlemen, we must begin. 1 minute, Richard called. Then to Darius. Last chance. Who are you really? I told you. Stop lying. The shout echoed. We know you're lying. Victoria held up her phone. Chat says you're probably after investors, or stealing client info. Or he's a journalist, Derek added, doing some exposé. His wife gasped. A gotcha story. That explains it. The theory spread. Whispers become certainty. That's it, Richard nodded. You're a reporter, here to ambush us. I'm not a reporter. Then what? Victoria's voice went shrill. What reason could you have? I belong here. No. Richard's voice dropped. Cold. You don't. Look around. Look at these people. Do you see yourself? The words hit hard. Because I don't, Richard continued. I see executives, leaders, people who earned their place. He gestured at Darius. Then I see you. And it doesn't fit. Victoria nodded. Like that kid's book. One of these things is not like the others. Exactly, Richard smiled. One doesn't belong. Sarah Carter stood abruptly, chair scraping. I need air. She almost ran to the exit. Richard watched her go, shrugged. Can't handle confrontation. He turned back. Where were we? Right. Removing you. I'm not leaving. Yes, you are. Richard nodded at the guards. Physically, if necessary. Sir, Marcus said, You don't get paid to think. You follow orders. My orders. Richard's voice went dangerous. I'm Senior Vice President. Your security, clear? Marcus's jaw clenched. Tony stepped forward. Sir, please come with us. Darius didn't move. Sir? The crowd held its breath. Victoria's comments exploded. Make him leave! Call the cops! Why is this taking forever? Because, Victoria said to the camera, he thinks he's special, thinks rules don't apply. She moved closer, close enough to smell her perfume, heavy, expensive. Let me tell you something. Quiet. Just for him. But the phone caught it. People like you, always trying to get into spaces you don't deserve, always pushing, never earning. Victoria, someone protested weakly. No, someone needs to say it. We're all thinking about it. She stared at him. You don't belong at this table. You don't belong at this event. Deep down, you know it. Dead silence. Darius stood there, taking it. The words, the stares, the cameras. He'd built billions, employed thousands. But right now he was just a black man being told he was less. Richard checked his watch. Dr. Morrison's waiting. The program is delayed because of you. He stood beside Victoria, united. Here's what happens. Security escorts you out. You leave quietly. We forget this. And if I don't, we call the police. Richard held up his phone. I've got the captain on speed dial. We golf together. Of course you do, Darius said softly. What? Nothing. Darius looked at the stage, at Dr. Morrison waiting, at James trying desperately to intervene, at Sarah's empty chair, at Marcus, whose eyes begged him to end this. The lights dimmed further. A second spotlight powered on, aimed at the stage. Dr. Morrison's voice filled the room. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to introduce tonight's keynote speaker. Richard grinned. Perfect. Let's remove you before the real guest arrives. This man built a company from nothing, Dr. Morrison continued. Victoria was texting, already complaining about delays. He did it through innovation, integrity, and dignity. Richard signaled the guards. Now, before she finishes. Marcus looked at Tony. Tony looked at Darius. Please welcome, Dr. Morrison said, founder and chief executive officer of Meridian Global. Tony reached for Darius's arm. Darius Bennett. The spotlight swung from the stage, found table 1, landed on Darius, and on Richard, sitting in the CEO's chair. The spotlight was held on Darius, then swung to the center chair, where Richard sat. The nameplate gleamed. Darius Bennett, CEO. Richard's face went white. He looked down, up at Darius, down again. His mouth opened, no sound. Victoria's phone slipped. She caught it. The live stream is still running. Oh my God, someone whispered. That's the CEO. He's been the CEO this whole time. The whispers built like a wave, table to table, guest to guest. Richard stood fast. The chair scraped loud. He stumbled backward. Victoria stared at her screen, comments flooding. He's the CEO? They harassed their boss. This is insane. Her follower count dropped. Live, hundreds per second. The room erupted in applause, everyone standing except the Whitmores. Darius buttoned his jacket, calm, composed. He walked toward the stage, past table 1. Richard reached out. Mr. Bennett, wait. Darius kept walking. Didn't stop, didn't look. Victoria grabbed Richard's arm. Do something. What do I? His voice cracked. She looked at her phone. 20,000 viewers now, all watching them. Turn it off, Richard hissed. Her hands shook. The phone clattered onto the table. Derek Hamilton slid his chair away, far away. His wife whispered, Did we just... Don't say anything. Sarah Carter appeared at the entrance, hand over her mouth. She'd seen it all. Darius climbed the stage. Dr. Morrison shook his hand. I'm so sorry, she said quietly. You didn't need to know. That was the point. He stepped to the podium, looked out at the crowd. His eyes swept past table 1. Didn't pause. They weren't worth his attention. Richard sank into a different chair. Not the CEO's, his assigned seat. Where he belonged. Victoria's phone exploded with notifications. Racist. Cancel her. Screen record everything. Her brand partners texted. All the same message. Contract terminated. The partnership ended. Distance ourselves. James appeared beside them. Richard, Victoria, come with me. Now. I can explain now. Around the room, guests played back recordings. Richard's voice was clear. One of these things doesn't belong. Gasps, shares, posts, hashtag Meridian Gala trending. Victoria tried deleting comments. Too many, too fast. Marcus stood by the stage, professional, eyes bright, vindicated. Darius began speaking. Thank you for that warm welcome. Most of you, anyway. Polite laughter. Tonight, we will discuss leadership. But first, what leadership isn't. Richard stared at his shaking hands. Leadership isn't claiming the best seat. Victoria felt tears coming. It's not assuming you belong and others don't. People stared openly now. It's not using your title as a weapon. Derek recorded the speech, got the Whitmores in frame. Real leadership is how you treat people when you think no one important is watching. The screens showed Table 1, showed their faces, everyone watching them squirm. Some people only show respect when they know your title, your salary, your power. Richard's phone buzzed. Email from HR. Meeting request Monday 9 a.m. RE. Conduct review mandatory. Another buzz. From the COO. Call me immediately. Another. Dude, what did you do? Victoria's phone was dying, battery draining from notifications, hundreds per minute, all condemning. Sarah pulled out her phone, started typing, a text to HR, the anonymous line, everything about Richard, every comment, every bias, every dismissal. Time to tell the truth. James returned with Karen Singh from HR, Michael Torres from legal. Mr. and Mrs. Whitmore, come with us. Can we wait? Victoria gestured weakly. No. They stood. Everyone watched. Past 50 tables, 100 people, all staring, all recordings. The doors closed behind them. Soft click. Inside, Darius continued. Didn't miss a beat. Didn't acknowledge their exit. They weren't important enough to interrupt. Outside, Victoria sobbed. My career, my followers, my sponsors. Your career? Richard's voice was hollow. I just assaulted the CEO on camera. He looked at Karen. I'm fired? That depends on the investigation. Investigation? Victoria's makeup ran black down her face. Michael opened his tablet. Security footage loaded. They watched themselves, grabbing the chair, taking the place setting. Every word, every gesture, all recorded, all evidence. Victoria slid down the wall. We didn't know. You didn't ask, Karen said. Through the doors, applause. Darius had finished his opening. The gala continued, like they'd never been there at all. The green room smelled like leather and old wood. Expensive, corporate, cold. Victoria sat on the edge of a chair. Her mascara had left black trails down her cheeks. Richard paced, 4 steps forward, 4 back. His bow tie hung loose around his neck. Karen Singh opened a folder. Thick. Official. Let's begin. This is all a misunderstanding, Richard said. His voice was thin, desperate. A misunderstanding? Karen's tone was flat. You physically removed the CEO from his chair. We didn't know. You didn't ask. Karen pulled out her tablet, turned it toward them. Security footage, audio included. On screen, they watched themselves. Richard yanking the chair, Victoria grabbing the water glass. Every insult, every assumption, crystal clear. Victoria looked away. I can't watch this. You lived it, Michael said. Now you review it. The video played. Richard's voice came through speakers. How the hell did you even get in here? Victoria's. Does he look like he belongs? Their own words, turned into weapons against them. We were protecting the event, Richard tried. From whom? Karen stopped the video. Your CEO? Silence. You called him a charity case, she continued, suggested his tuxedo was rented, implied he was staff. She leaned forward. Tell me, Mr. Whitmore, what made you assume those things? Richard's mouth opened, closed. No answer that wouldn't destroy him further. I thought so. Karen made notes on her tablet. Mrs. Whitmore, you live-streamed this interaction, posted his driver's license information, made comments about his background and origin. Victoria's voice cracked. I was just... What? Performing for followers? Karen's eyes were ice. Using company events for content without considering consequences. My contract? Your consulting contract. Michael pulled up documents. Secured through your husband's influence. Minimal deliverables. Essentially, nepotism. Victoria's face crumpled. You're terminating it. Effective immediately. Richard stood. You can't do this. I have rights, union protections. You assaulted an executive. Karen's voice cut sharp. On camera, with witnesses, your union will not protect you from that. Assaulted? I just moved a chair. While he was sitting in it. Michael showed another angle. That's physical contact. Aggressive behavior. Hostile work environment. Richard's legs gave out. He sat hard. I'm finished. That's not my determination. Karen closed her folder. But yes, probably. Victoria's phone buzzed continuously. She finally looked at it. Instagram notifications. Thousands. Her follower count was under 200,000 now, dropping every second. Her mother was calling, her sister, friends, everyone seeing the videos. She turned the phone face down, couldn't watch anymore. Outside in the ballroom, Darius was still speaking. His voice carried through the walls, measured, powerful, controlled. The character reveals itself in small moments, in how we treat people we think can't affect our lives. Scattered applause. Tonight revealed character. I won't name names. I don't need to. You all saw it. Victoria flinched. The question now is what we do with that revelation. How we hold ourselves accountable. How we ensure it never happens again. Standing ovation, long, sustained, genuine. Karen stood. You're both suspended without pay pending full investigation. For how long? Richard's voice was barely audible. As long as it takes. She walked to the door. You'll surrender your company credentials, building access, corporate cards, company vehicles. The Mercedes? Not yours. Never was. Michael handed him paperwork. Sign here. Acknowledges your suspension, confirms you understand the allegations. Richard's hand shook as he signed. The pen scratched loud in the quiet room. Victoria couldn't sign at first. Her hand wouldn't work. Finally, she scrawled something illegible. You're banned from Meridian Properties, Karen continued. All locations. Effective immediately. Security will escort you to collect personal items Monday morning. Supervised. What do we do until then? Victoria whispered. That's not my concern. Karen opened the door. 2 security guards waited, Marcus and Tony. Please escort them out. Service exit, no press. As Marcus stepped forward, professional, but his eyes held something else. Justice, maybe. Or just satisfaction. This way. They walked through back hallways, past kitchen staff who stopped to watch, past servers who whispered. Everyone knew. Word had spread like fire. The service exit led to an alley. Dumpsters, loading zone. No red carpet here. Your Uber is 3 minutes out, Tony said. They waited in silence. Victoria was crying quietly. Richard was staring at nothing. Inside, the gala continued, dinner being served. Awards being presented, Darius shaking hands, smiling, leading, like they'd never existed. The Uber arrived, a Toyota Camry, not Mercedes. They climbed in. "Where to?" the driver asked. Richard gave their home address, voice hollow. The car pulled away. The Metropolitan Hall lights faded behind them. Victoria checked her phone one last time. 50,000 followers now. Falling. Monday morning. 9 a.m. sharp. The Meridian Global boardroom sat on the 52nd floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Manhattan. The table was black glass. 20 leather chairs. Every seat filled. Darius sat at the head, silent, listening. Karen Singh stood at the presentation screen. Complete findings from Saturday night. She clicked a remote. Security footage filled the screen. Multiple angles. Crystal clear. Incident began at 7:42 p.m. Duration, 18 minutes. Witnesses, 47 direct. 200 indirect via social media. The executives watched. Some had seen it. Some hadn't. All of them looked uncomfortable. Physical contact occurred 3 times. Karen advanced slides. Chair removal while occupied. Personal property confiscation, intimidation through proximity. CFO James Patterson cleared his throat. "How bad is the media coverage?" "Catastrophic." Karen switched to news headlines. CNN Business. Fortune 500 CEO confronts discrimination at own company event. Washington Post. When assumptions cost everything. New York Times. Meridian Global executive suspended after racist incident. 50 million combined views across all platforms, Karen continued, trending globally for 72 hours. The COO, William Carter, shook his head. "Stock price? Down 3% initially. Recovering now." James pulled up charts. "Investors are waiting to see our response." "They'll see it." Darius spoke for the first time. His voice was quiet, final. "Karen, your recommendation?" "Termination for cause. Richard Whitmore. Immediate." "Grounds?" "Physical assault on executive leadership. Creating a hostile work environment. Conduct unbecoming. Violation of company values." Karen clicked through the documentation. Also discovered a pattern of discriminatory behavior in hiring practices. Murmurs around the table. "Pattern?" Darius leaned forward. "Yes." Karen pulled up files. Review of Richard's division shows significant disparities. Of 32 hires in 3 years, 29 were white males. 3 diversity candidates, all placed in junior roles. Previous complaints? 5. Buried by a former HR director. We're reopening all of them. Silence heavy in the room. "What about Victoria Whitmore?" someone asked. Michael Torres spoke up. "Her consulting contract is terminated. We're also reviewing how she obtained it. Appears to be undisclosed spousal benefit." "Ethics violation," the general counsel noted. "Correct." Michael made notes. "She's also facing civil action from the individuals whose information she posted without consent." Darius sat back. "Sarah Carter. Where is she?" Sarah stood from the far end of the table, nervous. She'd been invited but didn't know why. "You reported directly to Richard," Darius said. "Yes, sir." "You knew who I was Saturday night." Her face went pale. "I did." "Why didn't you speak?" Sarah took a breath. "Fear. Richard controlled my career, my promotions, everything. I was..." Her voice caught. "I was a coward." The room was silent. "No." Darius's voice was gentle. "You were in an impossible situation. That's a failure of our system, not you." Sarah's eyes filled. You came forward later, Darius continued. Filed a comprehensive report, named patterns, provided evidence. He paused. That took courage. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me yet. Darius smiled slightly. As of today, you're senior vice president, Richard's former position. Sarah's hand went to her mouth. Sir, You've earned it. Not because you stayed silent Saturday, but because you found your voice Sunday. Darius looked around the table. That's the character we need in leadership. Scattered applause. Derek Hamilton. Darius turned to another VP. You supported Richard's actions. Derek stood slowly, face ashen. Sir, I made a terrible mistake. You did. Darius cut him off. You had information, authority, power, and you used it to validate cruelty. I'm sorry. Sorry isn't enough. Darius leaned forward. Demoted to director. 30% salary reduction. Mandatory bias training. 6-month probation. Derek nodded, couldn't speak. But, Darius continued, you get a second chance, because people can change, if they want to. I do, sir, I will. Prove it. Karen advanced to the next slide. Media requests. We have 47 interview requests. CNN, Bloomberg, NPR, New York Times. I'll do them, Darius said. All of them. William Carter looked surprised. All. This is a teaching moment. For our industry, our company, our culture. Darius stood. If my embarrassment prevents one person from experiencing what I experienced, worth it. He walked to the windows, looked out at the city. Effective immediately, $25 million Diversity and Inclusion Initiative. Independent HR oversight. Whistleblower protections strengthened. Values assessment now 40% of promotion criteria. Karen typed rapidly. All noted. And Marcus Johnson, Darius turned back. The security guard from Saturday. Promote him to Director of Security Operations. Already done, Karen said. He started this morning. Darius smiled. Good. The next slide showed Richard's employment file. Final decision on Whitmore? The board voted. Unanimous. Termination for cause. Severance? Someone asked. None. Michael was firm. Conduct clause. He forfeits everything. Salary, stock options, benefits. How much in options? 1.8 million. Whistles around the table. His choice had consequences, Darius said simply. 3 days later, the interviews aired. Darius on CNN, calm, measured, talking about dignity and respect. This wasn't about me being CEO. It was about being human. Every person deserves basic respect. Title shouldn't matter. The interviewer leaned forward. What would you say to Richard Whitmore now? That I hope he learns, grows, become better. Darius paused. Anger won't fix him. Only accountability and self-reflection can. The clip went viral. 10 million views in 24 hours. Meanwhile, Victoria's world continued collapsing. Every brand partnership, terminated. Jewelry company, we cannot align with these values. Luxury hotel chain, contract canceled effective immediately. Skincare line, we stand against discrimination. Her follower count bottomed out at 12,000. The ones who stayed were mostly hate watchers. She'd tried an apology video. It became a meme. I'm sorry you were offended turned into a catchphrase for fake apologies. Richard found work eventually. Sales associate at a tech startup. Entry level. $60,000 a year. His LinkedIn was still flooded with comments. Every post, every update. Remember when you assaulted your CEO? One of these things doesn't belong. His own words, haunting him. 6 months after the gala, changes at Meridian were visible. Employee satisfaction up 35%. Retention of diverse talent improved dramatically. Best places to work rankings jumped 40 spots. Stock price up 12%. Investors valued cultural strength. Harvard Business School requested the case for their ethics curriculum. The Bennett incident became required reading in corporate leadership courses nationwide. 200 companies adopted similar executive observation programs, testing leaders by how they treated everyone, not just other executives. Sarah Carter thrived in her new role, mentored 15 young professionals, changed lives. Derek Hamilton completed his training, genuinely changed, became an advocate. Marcus Johnson built a diverse security team, transformed the department. James Patterson established new financial oversight, prevented future nepotism. The system was changing, slowly, imperfectly, but changing. Richard and Victoria divorced 4 months after the incident. Quiet, bitter, inevitable. Both moved to different cities, started over, separately. Their names were still synonymous with consequence. Don't pull a Whitmore entered business vocabulary, meaning don't let bias destroy your career. The lesson was expensive, but it was learned. 1 year later, the Metropolitan Hall looked the same. Crystal chandeliers, white orchids, jazz quartet playing softly. But everything had changed. Darius arrived early again. Same Tesla, same parking lot, same quiet approach. This time, people recognized him immediately. "Mr. Bennett!" The valet rushed over. "Let me take your keys, sir." "I've got it, thank you." Darius smiled, walked himself in. The lobby was different now. Photos on the walls, Meridian employees, all levels, all backgrounds, all celebrated. Maria Rodriguez met him at the entrance. "Welcome back, Mr. Bennett." "Thank you, Maria." He squeezed her hand. "How are you?" "Better. Much better." She gestured toward the ballroom. "Your table is ready." He walked in. The room stood. Applause rippled through the crowd. Genuine. Warm. But Darius noticed something else. The diversity. Every table showed it. Different faces, different backgrounds, different stories. This was what change looked like. Marcus Johnson stood by the stage, director of security now, confident, professional. When he saw Darius, he nodded. Respect between equals. Sarah Carter waved from table 1. Senior VP, thriving. Her team around her, young, diverse, talented. Derek Hamilton sat at table 5. Humble now. Changed. He'd spent the year rebuilding trust, earning respect the right way. Darius reached table 1, the center chair. His nameplate gleamed. He sat down. No one questioned it. No one grabbed his seat. No one assumed he didn't belong. This time, Victoria and Richard's chairs sat empty. Deliberately. 2 vacant seats with a small placard. "Reserved for the lessons we learned." Dr. Morrison approached the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our annual gala." Applause. Last year, this event became a turning point, not just for Meridian, for all of us. She paused. We learned that character reveals itself in crisis, that assumptions cost everything, that dignity matters more than titles. The room was silent, listening. Tonight, we honor those lessons, and the man who taught them. She smiled at Darius. "Please welcome our keynote speaker." Darius stood, walked to the stage. The applause was deafening. He adjusted the microphone, looked out at 200 faces, all watching, all listening. "Thank you." His voice was calm, steady. "Last year, I sat at that table and 2 people made assumptions about me. They saw skin color before character, position before person." Heads nodded. "People ask if I'm satisfied with what happened, if justice was served." He paused. "And I tell them, Justice isn't about punishment. It's about transformation. He gestured to Sarah. Sarah Carter got an opportunity she'd earned but couldn't access. That's justice. To Marcus. Marcus Johnson moved from security guard to director. That's justice. To Derek. Derek Hamilton confronted his biases and changed. That's justice. Richard and Victoria lost their careers. That's consequence. Darius's voice softened. But the real victory? 50,000 employees now work in a better culture. That's justice. Standing ovation. When it quieted, Darius continued. I built a company worth billions. But that night, I was just a black man being told he didn't belong. He looked at the empty chairs. The question isn't what title I held. It's why title mattered. Every person deserves dignity. Every person deserves respect. From the CEO to the janitor to the person serving your drinks tonight. He paused. Because you never know who's watching. You never know whose seat you're taking. You never know whose story you're becoming. The room was silent. Phones out. Recording. Sharing. That night went viral. 50 million views. But what matters isn't the views. It's the conversations, the changes, the companies that reformed, the people who examined their biases. Darius smiled slightly. So if this story moved you, don't just watch, act. Share this with someone who needs to understand that assumptions have consequences. Comment below with your own story. When have you witnessed discrimination? What did you do? Subscribe for proof that character wins over credentials every time. Like if you believe respect should be universal, not earned through titles. Follow to see how transformation continues, how systems change, how people grow. He leaned into the microphone. Final words. Richard and Victoria grabbed a black man's seat because they assumed he didn't belong. They never questioned their assumptions, only his presence. But here's what keeps me working. How many talented people are dismissed daily because someone made the same assumption? How many opportunities lost because we judge by appearance? How many voices silenced because we decide who belongs? Darius looked directly at the cameras, at the people recording, at the millions who would watch. The next time you see someone who doesn't match your expectations, ask yourself, am I questioning them, or am I questioning my own biases? Because the real measure of character isn't how we treat people we respect. It's how we treat people we assume aren't worthy of it. He stepped back from the podium. Never let anyone make you small, and never make anyone else feel that way either. The screen behind him lit up with text. Dignity costs nothing. Discrimination costs everything. Sets. Dignity matters. See people, clearly, Meridian Standard. The applause was thunderous. Darius walked off stage, past the empty chairs, past the lessons learned, toward a future where no one had to prove they belonged, because respect was finally the default.